Have you ever looked at a car and thought, that thing looks like it escaped from a cartoon? Well, buckle up, because today we're diving into the story of a Spanish microcar so odd, so wonderfully impractical, that it feels like an artist's fever dream on three wheels. Meet the 1954 David, a vehicle so small it could practically fit in your hallway, and so brave it dared to challenge the automotive giants of its time. Before we roll any further, hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. It tells the algorithm you love forgotten cars with big personalities. Plus, it helps us keep digging up more of these obscure mechanical legends from history's junkyard. Now, this wasn't just a car. This was a rebellion, a mechanical middle finger to post-war hardship, fuel shortages, and the notion that only big machines could make big history. And somehow, against all odds, it worked. Let's rewind the clock to early 1950s Spain, a nation still limping through the aftermath of civil war and political isolation. Roads were more pothole than pavement, gasoline was scarcer than honesty in politics, and most families were still relying on donkeys or bicycles to get around. But amid all that gloom, a group of dreamers in Barcelona thought, why not build a car that can actually exist in this chaos? Enter David S.A., a small company with big ideas. Their roots went all the way back to the 1910s, when a brilliant but slightly unhinged engineer named Jose Maria Armengay was building cycle cars and bobsleds with engines. Because who doesn't want to experience mortal terror at 40 miles per hour in an open sled? After Armengay's death, the company faded into history, only to be resurrected decades later by a group of equally bold engineers led by Jose Maria Moracamas. Their mission: create something cheap, simple, and weird enough to work in a country where steel was precious, gas was rationed, and cars were luxury items reserved for the elite. And that's how the David microcar was born. Part motorcycle, part experiment, and entirely bizarre. Produced between 1954 and 1958, it rolled into existence in tiny batches, somewhere between 60 and 75 units, depending on whose hangover you trust. Every single one was built almost by hand, which meant no two were exactly alike. The David came in several flavors. There was the Torpedo, a sporty-looking convertible that resembled a bobsled trying to be elegant; the Rubia, a woody-style wagon that could fit a suitcase and maybe your dignity; and the Camioneta, a pint-sized pickup truck that could haul 2 oranges and a bad attitude. But the Torpedo was the headliner, sleek, pointy, and unintentionally adorable. Picture this: a 9-foot-long teardrop on 3 wheels, part metal, part plywood, because who needs rust when you can have splinters, and a canvas roof that looked one strong breeze away from retirement. It was less automobile and more rolling conversation piece. Under that stubby nose sat a 345cc single-cylinder 2-stroke engine, the kind you'd expect in a chainsaw, not a car. It made a heroic 10 horsepower, and somehow that was enough to get the David to around 45 miles per hour, assuming a downhill stretch and divine intervention. The engine drove the front wheel through a chain, yes, a chain, which made it one of the few front-engine, front-wheel drive, 3-wheeled cars ever made. Imagine a motorcycle with stage fright trying to impersonate a car. Shifting gears was an adventure in itself. Instead of a traditional stick, drivers used an H-pattern slot cut right into the dashboard. You literally reached forward and changed gears inside the dash. It was equal parts clever and chaotic, like trying to play whack-a-mole with your transmission. The chassis was tubular steel, the body light and minimal. The steering was over-engineered, courtesy of parts from Auto Union, Yes, the ancestor of modern-day Audi. The suspension was primitive but surprisingly comfy, and all three wheels had mechanical drum brakes, which meant stopping was more of a suggestion than a command. Inside, luxury was a word that stayed outside. Bare metal panels, a single round speedometer, and just enough space for two brave souls. It was cramped, noisy, and smelled like oil and adventure. But it moved. And for many Spaniards, that was enough. You see, the David wasn't built for glamour. It was built for survival. It gave ordinary people, factory workers, students, small business owners, a way to move when owning a car seemed impossible. In that sense, it was Spain's own David versus Goliath moment. A little machine fighting against economic hardship and foreign competition with nothing but creativity and nerve. Of course, the competition didn't make things easy. Rival microcars like the Biscuiter and PTV were more established, more practical, and actually mass-produced. Compared to them, the David was a boutique oddity, pricier, quirkier, and limited to those eccentric enough to want one. But while others faded into history books, the David earned a place in automotive folklore. It wasn't just a car, it was a symbol of defiance on three wheels. Fast forward to today, and surviving Davids are museum pieces. At auctions, these tiny titans fetch anywhere from $25,000 to $50,000, depending on condition. Collectors adore them not for their performance, but for their personality. Because let's face it, any car that looks like a mobile hairdryer and still manages to inspire nostalgia deserves respect. Each surviving David is a reminder of the time when innovation didn't come from billion-dollar R&D labs, but from cramped workshops where engineers made miracles out of plywood and perseverance. So here's to the little guy, the weird, wonderful, wooden-framed warrior that fought giants and refused to apologize for being different. Stay curious, stay odd, and remember, if your car has fewer than 4 wheels, make sure it has enough heart to make up for it, just like the David did.